right, we're here at NAMM 2024. We're offering our 2-for-1 special. 2 mouthpieces for the price of 2. These are the DVHRs, brand new tenor. All right, we got the alto out last year, and blows like strong, really open, big bottom. It's this combination of a mouthpiece that gives you all the power. That's what the DV was always about. The metal DV was giving you the power you need live, right? And then a more full sound, a more beautiful sound, if you will, by using the secondary window, opening up the bottom. So we came out with the alto, and now we've got the tenor for this show.
Always sounding awesome. The ever amazing Jody. We're going to share one microphone here because you've got a lot in your hands right now. It's so awesome to see you at NAMM.
You too. You always do great interviews. We love seeing you. And we got off, this is the second day of the show. We got off to a great start. We've had more appointments than we've ever had, even before starting the show. So it's good economic indications.
Yeah, for sure, and so true. I've been walking around, doing a lot of interviews, and everyone is busy, which is fantastic. And the full floor has opened up. The last couple of years it hasn't been because of the pandemic, but this is all great. So look at these mouthpieces. These are incredible. So I play the DV. I have an older DV metal mouthpiece on the alto, but now we've got the sisters over here. So we've got the DV HR sounding great, really, with this. So talk to people about the difference between, you've got the hard rubber over here, how is it different than the metal DV?
Okay, so for all these years we had the metal DV. People would play it and they'd go, oh my God, I love that, but I'm not used to the metal, especially alto players, and I'm not used to the smaller shape in my mouth. And I would just be like, do you play soprano? Yes. Well, I said, well, you'll get used to it, but because they love the mouthpiece so much. But certain players just want to play hard rubber. I didn't get it until I started making these mouthpieces. Okay, and so I'm playing the mouthpiece, all the prototypes for 6 months. And once in a while I'll go back to the DV and check it because I'm checking how they compare. And then after about 6 months, it was the first time I ever felt, I feel what they're feeling. The smaller shape in their mouth, I'm not used to it now. For the first time.
Wow.
And I could actually understand, because I just used to be, oh, come on, you love it that much, just get used to it. But so there's a shape of hard rubber. Shape of hard rubber, we think there's rubber being more warm sounding. It is a little bit, but mostly it's the geometry inside the mouthpiece that's giving it its sound, right? But the material is giving a little more warmth. But what people don't think about is the shape of your mouth. A hard rubber mouthpiece is bigger, and it opens my mouth more, so I have a bigger chamber here, which makes a warmer, darker sound.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and I get that because I play metal on the alto, and I'm playing hard rubber on the tenor, so that makes total sense.
It's usually the opposite. Players play hard rubber on alto and metal on tenor.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So that's interesting. So you have you have the DV on alto?
Yeah. I have the DV that I got from you in the mid 2000s when you were in New York.
Yeah. Well, I always say, people play them both if you can. They're both high performance mouthpieces. Not meaning bright necessarily, but high performance means they play so effortlessly. Efficient is what I call it. When that facing curve works, for the energy you put in, you get out plenty of sound with a full spectrum of harmonics, what we want. And in a mouthpiece, it's about what I call the feedback, because it's the sound, but it's what it's feeling like, and the feeling is feedback to me. It's like air goes in and it comes back to me in a feeling in my nose and in my upper palate. Yeah, a whole thing. And so that that feeling is really special for me in these mouthpieces too.
I think I get what you're talking about too. It's the efficiency. So when you're blowing, you don't want to be blowing any harder or putting any extra effort that's not necessary. You want to feel like the air you're putting through is going through and you're getting the result that you want.
But we have had many cases during prototyping where the air goes through too fast. It's super free blowing, but the air is just going and it's not popping back to you and giving. So
resistance.
Yeah, and that resistance is not a stuffy resistance. It's a bounce back. I have something to push against a little bit. Otherwise, you can have, if you get the angles incorrect, the air can just go through, and you can only hold a note for 2 measures.
Yeah, so, and that's interesting. I was speaking with Ryan Richmond from Eastman Instruments yesterday. We were talking a little bit just off the record. It wasn't being recorded, but we were talking about resistance and stuff like that, and how you have to find that right amount of resistance, because if it is too free blowing, it's hard to control.
Yeah, and Ryan knows, and he has a bunch of Jody Jazz Mouthpieces.
So he definitely knows, for sure. So how long, you went through the prototype, 6 months, all that kind of thing. How long did it take you to get to that realization where, everybody's like, oh, I need to have the hard rubber? Like, how many months did that take for that to happen?
You mean the customers to get onto it?
No, for you to realize that now I get what they're saying.
Yeah, that took at least three or 4 months. Yeah. And because, I just thought they were being babies.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too because the size of the mouthpiece in your mouth, I think it does make a big difference too. And I know, again, I have jaw problems. Every once in a while I get TMJ flare-ups, and I know a bunch of people that do, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal how much mouthpiece is in your mouth. So it's just interesting for me that you said that story.
Yeah, and that is another thing for people to think about, how much mouthpiece is in your mouth, because that equates with the facing curve. So where does the facing curve start? Where does the mouthpiece start separating from the reed, and how much mouthpiece do you take in? So that's really more of a reason sometimes why people like a certain tip opening, because in general in mouthpiece making, the larger the tip opening, the longer the facing curve. We start usually I like a schedule of a curve. It's a certain combination of radii, and so I like that for this particular mouthpiece. So as I get a bigger tip opening, I start it further away from the tip so that curve can have more time to travel and make a bigger tip opening. So you're playing an 8-star, you need to take in more mouthpiece. And if you don't, the 8-star is not going to work for you. And if you take in a small amount of mouthpiece, that 6-star maybe just pops and it vibrates. And I can tell when people are playing, I can hear it from another room or anything, and I can just hear, all of a sudden we got the right vibration going on. I used to think, that's the right tip opening. Probably that's the right facing curve. That's the right length.
Wow. All right. That's gold right there. That's actually gold right there, because I never heard anybody explain it in that way before. Because when you think about it, a lot of times when people, their sound is cutting out, or their high notes are cutting out or whatever, take in more mouthpiece. But you also have to think about the facing curve, the model mouthpiece, the facing curve, the tip opening, all that kind of thing. Because for some mouthpieces, if you're taking in too much mouthpiece, and let's say it's a 5 tip opening, that's not going to necessarily help.
Right. And so these are these questions when you're trying new mouthpieces. Do you adjust the amount of mouthpiece you take in, or do you find a mouthpiece that just works for what you do? It really can be 2 parts of the question. We're always working on our sound to a certain degree, so that's what you do at home on your long tones, or you're trying to practice somebody else's sound, trying to get a goal, so you play around with that. But in trying a new mouthpiece, do you adjust to it? You need to adjust to these new mouthpieces with a reed. You maybe need to adjust with the embouchure, but also you just want something that just falls in your lap and you go, ha. And so it's all these questions. And then the question of how does the mouthpiece react to the horn? A lot of my artists, when they change horns, they give me a call and they say, well, it changed horns. We might have to change mouthpieces. I talk to them about reeds. I talk to them about necks. And then we go through the mouthpiece search as well.
Can we, if you have a minute, can we talk about that for a second? Because it's interesting. I used to believe that, any horn could take any mouthpiece, but that's not necessarily true. I found that out with my Mark VI a couple of years ago. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. Any good mouthpiece can go on any horn, but it may not be optimized and it may not be getting the sound you want. Maybe that horn is having a darker projection, and then you had a bright mouthpiece on it. Now you get a horn that's kind of bright. Now you're too bright. And I'll just never stop saying how important the neck is. Yeah. And so most people don't think about that, and they like a brand of horns. If you get a chance, play around with the necks, even in the same model, because a neck can really make or break this thing. So.
Yeah, that happened to me when I got my Mark VI many years ago, and the neck wasn't great. And then my repair person on Long Island said, try this neck, and it's not a Mark VI neck. It was a Selmer Series 3. Great. It was like night and day, And it never occurred to me, for many years it never occurred to me how much of an effect the neck has on the horn.
I think in terms of how much effect the sound and playing is, it's mouthpiece, reed, neck, horn, ligature, something like that. It's somewhere in there, in that order maybe.
That's great. That's fantastic information to know. All right, so we've got the DV family. Question, is there going to be, and well, we're at NAMM, I'm going to ask, is it in the works for a DV HR Bari?
I would say it's on the runways. The air traffic controllers have it way back right now. There's a bunch of other stuff on the runway, on the current runway, but we would like to complete the family. I would really love to see a baritone and soprano in this. I think we can use a little punchy soprano with bottom. Our custom dark soprano has done so great, but to have that more bright thing, powerful. So I don't know when, but
okay, cool.
But I want to do it.
You heard that here first. All right, we're going to get to some more stuff with Jody in a second. And we're back here with Jody, and he now has the Hand Hammered mouthpiece over here. Look at the beauty of that. Oh my gosh.
You talking about me or the mouthpiece?
Both.
Good answer. All right.
Check this out. Oh yeah, I gotta say, you play with so much soul. Seriously, no, you really do, because I hear him warm up, I hear him play all the time. Oh my gosh, that sounds like velvet.
I was copying Marquino down the road. He was playing some beautiful smooth jazz, and yeah, I like his sound. So at NAMM, you get to hear everybody and get influenced, especially with the more contemporary stuff. But the Hand Hammered is a really special case. We released it last year, was it?
No, a couple years ago with
okay.
DeFrancesco.
Oh yeah, Joey. Love you, Joey.
Yeah.
There's a guy, everybody should think about this. One of the best organ players in the world. Played great trumpet, seriously, and then he picks up tenor and saxophone, and he dove deep. He was so in love with music that he was always practicing and playing music, but he dove real deep. And we would talk more than anybody with him. I would talk about mouthpieces and everything, and he was so passionate, and he loved this one. It was a special experiment to see if hand hammering would do something on a mouthpiece, and it actually did quite a lot. It makes the metal harder, it makes it vibrate better, the mouthpiece can play subtones easier. We decided, I had a whole version that was the shape of a DV, and it was going to be a version of the DV, a hand hammered DV, in a special kind of round chamber and everything, and it played very good. And some people tried it, and they liked it, but something was like a little feeling like it wasn't quite it. And I had 100 fully made, fully plated, and I decided to trash it. And
Oh my gosh.
yep. And so we made this version that is in the shape of a hard rubber mouthpiece, so it's very heavy.
Okay.
And people, that's the first thing they go, whoa. And so if you feel it on the horn like this, you can feel a heaviness, but as soon as you put it in your mouth, that goes away. You don't feel it. But part of the sound it has is with this mass. There's a thing about putting mass up on the top of horn and different, like heavy screw and stuff. So part of it is the vibration of the metal. Part of it is the mass. Always part of it is a facing curve and kind of what we did inside to have a combination of straight ahead warmth and beauty and direct tone. So what you do inside of the chamber with the shape of it can affect like the core of the sound. So you have how much core do I want, how much like main harmonic do I want, and how much other stuff. Well, let's say an auto link having the most other stuff, but it can be a diffused sound. So it's just a dialing in like a recipe where you want this thing. So, and I was trying to put it in the middle of a straight ahead mouthpiece. So that can play beautifully ballads and play a little more contemporary and stuff like that. So it's not a rock and roll mouthpiece, and it's not a total Fufu mouthpiece, you know.
I think of this mouthpiece, we're hearing Marquinhos down the way over there, and some other people are warming up. You know what? I think of Kirk Whalum.
Yeah, and Kirk Whalum fell in love with it. He was playing on hard rubber for many years, and he wrote me and he says, "This is my mouthpiece. This was made for me." He's on it, and he's loving it.
I can see that, and now that I see it, I can hear it, because when you just played right now, and this is the cool thing about NAMM, there's so many great players here too. So he was hearing some people playing, he just caught it, you know, and embellished that or whatever. But when you were playing, the first thought in my head was Kirk Whalum.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, from what I heard.
And a lot of young people might not know Kirk Whalum, and if you know him from playing with Whitney Houston, he's played great. He's known more in the contemporary, not necessarily smooth jazz, but contemporary scene, right? But Coltrane, I mean, Kirk has Coltrane. Coltrane, he goes deep in his jazz roots. So he brings, like him and Gerald Albright, they bring such a depth to whatever they're doing at the moment. And you may not be able to hear it, but it's there. And when you hang out with these guys and hear them in person, and this stuff comes out. So that's been a super thrill. One of the many of getting to hang out like with guys like Joey and Kirk and so many. Ed Gallia was here yesterday.
I missed him. I saw someone posted a picture, and we had him on the podcast. Check out one of our previous episodes. But yeah, Ed, great player also.
Yeah, Don Braden's coming. We're going to play at noon today. A little set here. If you check out Don's resume, he's played with Freddie Hubbard and Art Blakey, and everybody. He got in at a time when all these greats were still playing, and he played with most of them. So they're talking about serious depth, and he's like an architect when he makes his solos. He's so cool.
Yeah, a few years ago when we had the jam sessions at NAMM, right? So Don was on stage, Kirk was on stage. I don't think Gerald Albright was there.
Tom Scott, Jeff Kashawa, a couple of others. So yeah, yep, Derek, and Gerald did one of those too. Well, I think the one before blew me away. But yeah, that was a super special moment to be. I'm not that player with those guys, but I get to hang because it's my party. And
I got to hang too. It was awesome, and just what Jody was talking about too, the depth of their playing. When they're at the jam, they have their roots. They studied their foundation, and that's what makes them such amazing players.
Yeah. So this is new in the sense that we offered it a limited edition, 300 in rose gold, numbered, and that was like a collector's item. Now we're releasing it in the regular gold plating, and it's not a limited edition. So it's still kind of expensive, but it actually, we send this heavy blank up to Massachusetts from Savannah to be hand hammered by the expert that did Zildjian cymbals for 30 years, and we still have him do it. It took a lot of figuring out how to do this on a mouthpiece so it would still work. And so it comes back. You can't imagine the heaviness of this box going back and forth, and then we do our work on it. So it does cost money. It's very special.
And that's the whole point. And you get that beautiful velvety type of sound. All right, awesome. I know you've got one more thing for us, I think.
Yep. I'll be right back.
All right, so Jody, that looks interesting.
Must have a bad read or something. Oh, okay. It happens. Jet lag.
Yeah, that's right. It's only the second day of NAMM. It's only the second day. You got 2 more days. Well, really.
Okay. So we've had Chedeville mouthpieces, and it's been a great journey. We are continually learning from great clarinetists and what they want, and we've taken the history of Chedeville and started with mouthpieces that were based on those classic mouthpieces many clarinetists know, and this company's formed in the 1920s in Paris, and the blanks were sent over here. They were worked on in Philadelphia and some of those mouthpieces became super, super famous, and they're very sought after. So we've had the fortune to be able to buy this company, get this rubber formula that's softer than normal, make mouthpieces for different guys and different models. We started supplying blanks to a very famous mouthpiece maker named Jim Cantor, James Cantor. He's the guy that's on all the movies you've ever heard. When you hear clarinet, Toy Story and all the big hits, he probably did over 1,500 movie soundtracks. Great clarinet player. Plays in an opera and symphony as well. All those years he was making mouthpieces, not necessarily as a hobby, but as a side business. He has a special way of doing it. So he was getting Zinner blanks, which was a blank made in Germany, a hard rubber blank. All the guys that made mouthpieces that didn't have a factory, that's what they were doing. So you get a mouthpiece that's kind of already made, but then you put your own facing and you do little things to it. Jim started, that company went out of business, and Jim started buying my blanks, and he loves them, and he loves working with us, and we love working with him, and he makes these mouthpieces that go into symphonies around the world. And at one point I thought, Jim, I was thinking, I'd like to try and make what you make. He has a way of doing a facing curve with well over, I think, 3 times as many points of measurements. We measure with some shims, these little tiny metal things, and we put it on glass and we measure the curve in a way. And he measures way more fine points. And he does this, he's got a special apparatus, and he does this by hand, and he makes a facing curve, because I've always said the facing curve is most of what makes a great mouthpiece. So I thought, I wonder if he would collaborate with us, let us try and make kind of one of his models our way. And I called him up, and he said, this is so weird, Jody. I was thinking about the same thing. Because he said in interviews and stuff that he's really, the Chedeville name means a lot to him, and he's really happy and proud to be part of it. And he liked what we were doing with the blanks for him. And so we got into it, and we were able to make that. We went up and took the one he made, took ours, and like a so-called blind test, and we won.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
He loved them, and we're good, man. So we made this mouthpiece. We did a ruby probe. It's like in our CNC machine, we can take the tool and we put this, it's actual ruby, and a round ruby, and we put it's kind of probe, and it touches the facing curve in even more points than he does. And so we copied his curve in that way. And then so we got all his dimensions, and So that's what you're getting. You're getting a Jim Cantor model. It's the one he said he did most of his movies on. It's really versatile. It's a medium tip opening. It only comes in one tip opening. It's called the Cantor Cinema, the Chedeville Cantor Cinema. And I'm not going to do it justice here, but I'm going to play a few notes because it's so beautiful. Jim says it's sublime.
That's awesome.
I don't use that word very often. And so I'm really grateful to Milan Rerica, who worked with us, different clarinetists who've imparted their knowledge. I say that I'm the only mouthpiece maker who says they don't know everything. Most, you know how repairmen are, right?
Yeah.
Who did this work? This is terrible. Everybody's terrible. I'm great. Right?
Yes.
Oh, terrible. Shoddy work. So, but I don't think I've been like that. I'm like,
No.
plenty to learn still.
That's what I love about this guy. He's so humble, and he's always learning. So it's awesome.
So yeah, thank you to Jim Cantor on this project. It's really working. Clarinet players who hadn't found a Chedeville mouthpiece that they love are finding it. So we're very excited about this.
What, for clarinet players and even for doublers, right? Because, right, Saxophone Podcast. What, styles of music are best suited for this mouthpiece?
Primarily classical mouthpiece with a lot of flexibility. That's really what you're getting. And players who've been playing more open tips and more closed tips have played this, and they didn't think they could play it. It's actually in millimeters 107, which it's pretty in the middle, but I wouldn't think about, like I told you, about the facing curve and the length. Don't necessarily think about the tip opening that much. If you're a player, an accomplished player, you're practicing enough to play any tip opening, especially if you pair it with the right reed. Okay, so don't think about that so much. Just play them and see what happens.
Cool. And let's hear you play this a little bit. That really does sound sublime. That sounds incredible. What a sound on that.
Thank you. But I'm going to have a much better clarinet player than myself, Tyler Harris, who is our specialist on Chedeville and Rousseau. He's a great clarinet player. He's going to come and play a few notes for you, okay?
Awesome. That's great. All right, so here's Tyler Harris. He's just going to play a little bit on the clarinet here. That was really awesome. What a beautiful sound. What is your experience, Tyler, playing this particular mouthpiece compared to what you normally play?
It's been great. My favorite thing about the Cantor is the response at different dynamic levels, like whether I need to play niente, like really pianissimo entrance, I still have all the focus and the clarity in the world, and same when I really need to project and play loud, the sound never gets spread. It always just has this laser focus to it, which is really, really nice. I know I don't have any fear of playing uncharacteristically with this mouthpiece. I feel like I always have this really great sense of control, which is really, really great.
I heard that too, and it was interesting because I had this microphone right by the bell over here, and you can hear. The first thought I thought about was like a nice round sound. It definitely had the core of the sound.
Yeah, certainly. And the other thing is the instant response as well. Like as soon as I give it air, it speaks right away. It's just a really, really fun mouthpiece to play, and it just feels easy. As soon as I give it air, it just speaks right away. It's like I don't even notice the mouthpiece is there at all, which is a really good feeling.
That's gold. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler. Okay, well, we're back here with Jody, and one more question. What's in the works for this upcoming year, for 2024? That's you're allowed to say.
No comment. Okay. We have some stuff that we cannot talk about yet, but we have probably on the Chedeville front. Well, I don't want to talk about it yet. So, yeah, I got things, and it's sometimes better just to come out with a surprise. Sometimes you're gonna, like I said, I went down a long road with that first Hand Hammered, and then I trashed it. I just so not all projects work. They've got to be good. They got
That's a really good lesson.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm the consumer advocate. I'm really trying to make things good. If you buy it from us, it's got our name on it or something. It's got to be good. And I go out to schools all the time, and I play. Sometimes if I'm having trouble getting success with a kid, saying try this, try that, nothing works, I'll sometimes try their mouthpiece. Check, and it's malformed, and they can't get their low notes. I can't get my low notes unless I really kill myself. So we're just trying to do that and make good stuff, and we're still at it. So.
Well, listen, as always, he's always making good stuff. So once again, I know you're so busy. Thank you for your time, Jody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We really enjoy your interviews. You do great service for everybody, showing all this cool stuff. All right. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And by the way, check out the podcast episodes. I was live in the factory with Jody. We've got a whole series, and there's a masterclass about mouthpieces. You have to check it out. We'll put links in the show notes for you at that point.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Bye, guys. Great show.